6 of Intermediate Level 2 of the Piano Skills Foundation. I hope that you're having fun at this point, but I want to remind you, always keep in mind with these videos that they're going to go a little faster than you should be going, because I want to make the videos not too long. You should always look at the video over and over to see the details you want to, but then go slower on your own at first, especially when the music is brand new. Other than that, I think that you probably, hopefully at this point, know how to do it all, so have a good time with this one. Okay, so this week's lesson, lesson 6. The first thing, scales, arpeggios, cadences, and burlesque. We're going to go ahead and do it in the key of G flat again, just to show you the usual routine. Have this at 100. Point out, when I do burlesque on the walking octaves, you might notice that in lesson 5 I did staccatos in the left hand like this short, and then in lesson 6 just now I did it smooth. So I think it sounds good either way, however you want to do it. Have a good time with that. Right, so you might notice I added the key of F sharp or G flat to the octave scales. So let's just do that one today along with the key of F. Let's go with both ends. So I'm going to go G flat. Where there's only one black note. And those were a couple octave scales for you. You can do as many of those as you want. Don't let your hands get sore, so try to keep it loose, but have fun with that. Right, so your major and minor triads in lesson 6, we're going to move them up to 100, and here it goes. Major and minor triads at 100. Good luck with that. All right, so your first reading exercise in this lesson, the thirds dance in G flat. So I'm going to go ahead and Put the metronome in a nice, easy tempo for now. We're in 6/8 time, which means there's 6 beats per measure, and the 8th note gets 1 beat. You'll notice the dotted quarter note that we start with gets 3 beats. So hopefully we'll go slow. You can go slower if you need to. I'm going to put the metronome, let's say, at 72. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Change pedal on 4, 5, 6. Jump up. 1. Okay. As usual, I'm leaving you kind of do your pedaling by yourself. I mention it once in a while, but hopefully you'll notice the pedaling and when you're supposed to change. So the right hand and the pedal first, and then once you get that learned, the left hand, third finger's on G flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Okay, once that's learned, both hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Of course, once you get 3 perfect on that first line, then we'll do the second line. The right hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Okay, so really watch the fingerings on these too. The fingerings will help you get this learned a lot better. If you get the fingerings smooth, you can, even though the pedal's down, you're going to connect your fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Stop. So the left hand is very similar to the first line. In fact, it's the same. Now we're going to do both hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1. Okay, once you get 3 perfect on that line, of course, put those first 2 lines together, and then I'm going to do the third line. Third line, right hand, I'm going to count 1 and 2 and 3 and, whoops, I screwed that up. Just a minute. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 1. Okay, that was the right hand on the third line. Left hand, second finger's on C flat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6. Third finger, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6. Second finger, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Okay. Both hands. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 1. Okay, and of course, once you get that 3 perfect, do all 3 lines, but I'm going to go on to the fourth line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Off. hopefully you'll notice that that's really just exactly the same as the second line, except the last note you hold the whole time. So it's up to you whether you want to practice that for too long. You should already know it. Left hand's turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's also the same as that second line. And then the ending is just slightly different. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, off. So the bottom line, ready? 1, oops, sorry, left hand, third finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, off. Okay, so now this one I want to go and do the whole thing, but I want to go a little bit faster at first. 72 is pretty slow, though you could certainly start that slow and work your way up. I'm going to put it somewhere in the middle on a regular metronome. This would be 88. And then I chose 88 because on a regular metronome you could do that. A smartphone metronome you could put anywhere, but let's go at 88, and then I'll do it again at 144, which is the suggested top speed. So here's 88, sort of a medium speed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, off. And that was at 88. Now let's try it at 144. And of course, as usual, you don't have to get it this fast, but if you hang with your reading exercise long enough to get it up to the top speed, it'll probably do you more benefit, be more beneficial for you. Anyway, here we go at 144, the whole tune. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, off. And that was Thirds Dance in the key of G flat. Have fun with that. All right, so your next reading exercise is the E flat minor mystery. We're going to go to the key of E flat minor, which is related to G flat major because it has all the same flats, 6 flats. Let's start at the very beginning with the right hand by itself. 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, that's the right hand part. Now I just realized I do like to use the metronome. I forgot to put it on for you, so I'm going to put it on for the left hand. We'll see how fast I was just going. 3, 1 and 2. I think that was a pretty good tempo. Let's do 60. Left hand. 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, and then it rolls an A minor chord and 1, 2, 3 and 1. So hopefully you realize there's just rolling chords. This is what we'd call an E flat power chord. And then I went to, I named it wrong. It's A flat minor, and then it goes to E flat major. Okay, sorry. Let's do both hands. 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 first line, and of course, as usual, once you get your 3 perfect, we'll move on to the next one. Right hand by itself. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, and then the left hand. 1, 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Then an A flat. 1. Now both hands on that second line. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1. Now, of course, once you get your 3 perfect there, put those 2 lines together. We're going to start on the third line where the right hand is playing an inverted E flat minor chord. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1. And there are some real tricky fingerings right in here, so watch closely. You can see what I did by reviewing the video over and over and checking out what you're supposed to be doing. But once you get that right hand learned, left hand goes like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1. And then the hands together sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, so I missed one note in there, but hopefully that doesn't bother you. Now, once you get 3 perfect on the third line, put them all 3 together, and then go to the fourth line, which sounds like this. Right hand by itself. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, off. And once again, watch that fingering. It's really tricky in here, but it's not that hard. You can get it. It works out well. Now the left hand. 1, 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, off. Okay, and then both hands on that part. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, off. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and play the whole thing at 60, and then I'm going to move it up to the tempo that's on this sheet, not the one that I wrote on your homework sheet, which I goofed up again. But we're going to aim for 96. The slow version is this at 60. 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 1 and 2 trouble in there on that third line, but hopefully you get the gist of it. Let's see what it sounds like at 96. Let's see if I can make it through not too badly this time. Well, that's a fairly challenging tempo, but if you can, keep working on it till you get close, it's kind of fun. So anyway, have fun with that. All right. So today we get to finish up Sonatina in C, your memorized piece for the first 6 lessons of this level. we're going to have a chunk of music today starting with measure 58 on the third and final page, measure 58 to the end. The first 8 measures of that you already know. So I'm going to skip the first 4, and then the second 4, we're going to chop it to just the last half of it so we can work on the transition to a new section. This is where new music that you don't know starts, which is measure, let's see, 66. Measure 66, I would like to do the transition to measure 66, starting back with 65, 64. So on measure 64, let's practice it the way you should practice. Right hand by itself, 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 and 1 E and. So that is the little transition, and the newest part was this last one, which is the first notes of measure 66. So practice that till you get it. Then the left hand, you already know the first 2 measures, 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 and 1 E and the left hand just starts doing this pattern down here. So here's that transition with both hands, 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 and 1 E and. Okay, so practice that till you get 3 perfect. Then go back and review the first half of it, which goes like this. This is starting at measure 62. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1. That's what the right hand does. Then the left hand, 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1. And then both hands, 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1. And then after you've reviewed that, got 3 perfect, then go ahead and do the whole 4 measures with a stop. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and stop. And then go from there. And we did that with a stop. Now you do 3 perfect without the stop. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and. Okay, that gets you the transition from material you already know to stuff that we're going to learn now. You do that till you get 3 perfects. But now let's start with this measure 66, and because it's new material, of course, we're going to do just 2 measures at a time. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and. And I overlapped a little bit into measure 68. You'll notice these little patterns are just a chord that if you block them first, it's easier to memorize. So block this first chunk, and then this one, and then it comes back, and then you play this. If you block them like that and get them memorized, it's easier for the memory. But now once you get that learned and you've played the right hand and you know it, the left hand is just doing back and forth with a 5th on C, like this. So really, you don't have to practice that a whole lot before it's memorized, and you're ready to put them together, like this. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and do that until you get 3 perfect. And then, of course, the next 2 measures are very similar. Right hand still doing this pattern. You can block it first. This, then this, then this. But then there's a rest before you play this. Okay? That's a blocking of each one of these little chunks. Now I'm going to play it as written. Right hand goes 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and. Okay? And then, of course, the left hand's doing the same old thing, so we don't need to practice that by itself. I'm going to go ahead and put them together like this. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 and 1 E and. Okay? Now once you get 3 perfect there, try the whole phrase. One time with a stop. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and. I didn't stop right on time, but I'll do it with this, starting there now. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 and 1. And now we'll do it without the stop. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 and 1 E and. Okay, and once you get 3 perfect there, we're ready to work on the next phrase, which starts with a similar pattern. And again, you can do some blocking first, like this. There's the first little chunk of notes. This is that measure, oh, I lose track, 68, 69, 70. Measure 70, 67, 68, 69, yeah, 70. So the right hand does this, and then this, same chord inverted. It's a C major chord, and a C major chord, and then you go to there. So I just blocked through all four of those little patterns, and now I'm going to play them as written. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1. Once you get that memorized, the left hand is still doing this, so you already have it. Let's put them together. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1. Okay, and then once you get your three perfects on that, time to learn this, and I think we can just go ahead and go all the way to the end. Even though it's 4 measures, it's just a playing of chords at the end. So let's do a 4 measure stretch here. Right hand, doing these thirds, bouncing up, good staccatos. 1 and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and pedal. 2, 1, 2, off. So memorize the right hand. That shouldn't be too hard. There's a little pattern to it fingering. Left hand is still going back and forth, but this time it's going twice as fast. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 and 2, 1, 2, off. And just so you know, I added that pedaling at the ending. That is not the composer's idea. That's mine. If you don't like it, you don't have to do the pedaling, but I kind of like it. So anyway, now we're going to do both hands from measure 72 to the end. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and pedal. 2, 1, 2, off. And now once you get that learned, of course, you're going to put it all together, the 6 measures. We're going to do the right hand and left hand together with a stop, like this. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and stop. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and pedal and 2 and 1 and 2 and off. Now let's do it without the stop. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and pedal and 2, 1, 2, off. All right, so now you've learned the entire piece. We just learned the last phrase. And then what I want to do is go through the tempos that I wrote on your homework sheet this week, or your lesson guide, whatever it's called. It says to start using metronome at 60 for your review, which might leave you scratching your head a little bit because last time we had you going all the way up to 160. But what I'm doing this week is I'm going to use the metronome clicking the quarter note instead of the 8th note. So just as an example, if we did this whole last page as a review real quick, I would do each phrase right hand, left hand, both. And if we were doing last week's tempo, or the lesson 5 tempo of 160, it would be like this. I'm going to put it at 160. These are the 8th notes. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2. Okay, so that was with the 8th notes being clicked. If we put this down at 60 and have it beating, or should I say, I'm going to put it at 80 because that would be half of that. Put it at 80. This would be the exact same tempo that I just played, but with the metronome doing the quarter note. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2. So hopefully that makes sense to you. So that's why we're using these tempos today. I'm actually going to start down at 60 and just give you an idea of how you could do a quick little review. We're going to do measure on this last page, 55, 56, 57, measure 58. Right hand by itself. I would do each phrase right hand, left hand, and then both 3 perfect with the metronome to help you out like this. Right hand, 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 and off. Then the left hand, 1 E and 2 E and 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, now I'm starting at measure 58 with both hands. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 and 1. And once you get a perfect one, then take your metronome and go up 10. Or if it's a conventional metronome, 2 clicks or something like that, which would be almost 10. Just move it up, that's the whole point. And do another perfect one. 1E and 2E and 1E and 2E and 1E and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and 1E. And then once you get another perfect, move it up. I'm going to move it up to 80. So I went from 60 up to 80 on my perfects. 1E and 2 and 1E and 2 and 1E and a 2 and a 1 and a 2, 1E. Okay? Now I'm going to go through the same process with the next phrase. So I'm starting at measure 62, putting it back down to 60. This is where I do my hands separate. Let's do left hand first, since it kind of goes first. 1E and 2E and 1E and 2E and 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2 and then 1E and. Then the right hand comes in 1E and 2E and 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2 and 1E and. And now both hands 1E and 2E and 1E and 2 and 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2, 1E and. Okay. Now I'm going to move that one. If I get one perfect at 60, I'll move it up to 70 and do it again for my second perfect. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, 1 and. Okay. Then after a perfect there, I move it up to 80 for my third perfect, like this. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, 1 and. All right, so now that's an example of how to practice each phrase for your review. The 2 phrases that I just did, of course, are just like the beginning, but you could keep doing that all the way to the bottom or all the way to the top. Start in a different section, like at the top, and do a section like that. Or you could do the whole piece practicing through like that. But I don't need to do any more for the video. I think you might understand how to practice like that. So my final thing to do for you on this is just to play it through at sort of an easier tempo. Let's choose, let's choose that 80 that I was just doing. I'm going to play it all the way through with the metronome, and then I'm going to put the metronome at the top tempo that I've given you, which is, in my opinion, 104 works nicely. Anywhere between 80 and 104 sounds good. So let's do it at 80 first. And it sounds like this. 1, hopefully you noticed that I did a lot of getting louder, getting softer, shaping things musically, and you can do those too. Those are written in the music. Those are the things you sort of add. You could add those as you're learning it, or you can add it at the end. But just to make it musically more interesting and put yourself into it. Now I'm going to put the metronome up at 104 and play through it, but I'm not going to have the metronome on the whole time. I'm going to get my tempo, and then I'm going to allow myself some moments where when I'm transitioning from one section to another or whatever, I put some timing in there that allows me to slow down or speed up. So I don't want the metronome on when I'm actually doing the performance type of playthrough, 1 EN, 2 EN. But this is close to 104. Oh my goodness, and I just goofed at the very end. Let me see if I can do that again. I goofed again. There you go. All right, so I hope you have fun with that piece.